And speaking of allies, are Volodymyr Zelensky's allies abandoning him? Have they become tired of the war and Zelensky's demands? Is there fatigue setting in among his allies? These questions crop up courtesy a recent statement from Poland. That's right, Poland has decided to not send weapons to Ukraine. The Polish Prime Minister says that his country will no longer send arms and ammunition to Kiev. And why is that, you ask? Because he wants to arm his country first, safeguard the interests of his people. Let me just get to you his official statement. We are no longer transferring weapons to Ukraine because we are now arming Poland with more modern weapons. That's the statement. And immediately after this statement, these visuals emerged. They showed trains full of Ukrainian grain waiting at the Polish border. And reports say they have been stuck for over 48 hours. Now, this statement is intriguing to say the least, especially given how Poland is one of Ukraine's main weapon suppliers. And ever since the war broke out, it has also been one of the largest cheerleaders of Ukraine. So why has it decided to abandon Ukraine all of a sudden? Well, from where we see it, it's just a tit-for-tat move. You see, earlier this week, this report came out. It said Ukraine was planning to sue Poland, Hungary and Slovakia. And why is that? Because of their refusal to drop a ban on Ukraine's agricultural products. Let me explain this. Earlier this year, several European nations placed a ban on Ukrainian grains to protect the livelihoods of the local farmers. The farmers in question were becoming increasingly worried that their products will get undercut because of the low prices of Ukrainian grains. And last week, the EU lifted the ban on humanitarian grounds. But Poland, Hungary and Slovakia, these three said they intend to defy the change and keep the restrictions in place. And this, you see, led to a war of words. Kiev issued several ultimatums. It called their actions ethically wrong. And this war of words has now escalated. With Poland stopping military aid to Ukraine, the timing of the decision is quite interesting. It comes right ahead of the parliamentary elections in Poland. They are supposed to be held next month. The ruling dispensation faces a tough challenge. It is fighting against an increasingly popular far-right party, which is expected to put up a tough fight. So it's a do-or-die battle for the Polish Prime Minister. And he cannot risk inviting the fury of the Polish citizens. This pretty much explains Poland's decision. It has been taken in light of domestic compulsions, just to put it simply. And let me now quote another statement from the Polish Prime Minister. It reads, "We were the first to do a lot for Ukraine, and that's why we expect for them to understand our interests. Of course, we respect all of their problems, but for us, the interests of our farmers are the most important thing." So we get Poland's compulsions. What about Slovakia and Hungary? Well, their reasons are more or less similar. In Slovakia as well, there are elections coming up. They are scheduled for September 30th. The grain dispute is featuring prominently in the political campaigning. The opposition is using it to enhance its electoral prospects. So the current pro-Western government is not taking any chances. It has imposed import restrictions on Ukrainian grain. Next, we have Hungary. The country's current leader has been pro-Russia throughout the course of the war, because he thinks NATO is using this war to represent American interests and not European interests. He does not have an election coming up anytime soon, but he is using the war to build his domestic support base. Now, here's the thing. Ukraine could have avoided the situation. At least two of these countries have been its vehement supporters in the war, but putting pressure on them in multilateral forums or sending complaints to international tribunals does not really look like an appropriate method to resolve disputes, especially when you are dependent on the very same countries for military aid. And this also raises other questions. Questions like, is support for Ukraine beginning to wane within the European countries? I ask these questions because this conflict has challenged the most basic assumptions of Europeans about their security. You know, it has brought the specter of nuclear confrontation back to their continent, disrupted their economies, triggered an energy crisis, and led to shortages of food. And after almost 2 years of the war, most people in Western countries are saying they want their leaders to focus more on internal issues. Issues which they say have been sidelined due to the war. Have European leaders started to listen to their people? It certainly seems to be the case. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the updates on the move.